Okay, welcome everybody to our second class of the Living Tanya series. If you're coming in, please come in quietly. We started, Baruch Hashem. Yes, I do. What? There's this one. Hi, welcome. Let's pull this out. What is it? Thank you. Okay, it's in recording mode. Just put it by the kitchenette. Do you have yours? Okay, awesome. Everybody have theirs? Okay, awesome. So we are up to class 2. Hope everyone did their homework. Yours is here? So you need a pen. I don't bite. You're not in the video. Oh. Okay. So I had a really fun time today trying to remember the workshop that we were meant to do today, because I remember the one we did last week. We made cheesecake, and I remember the one we're meant to do next week and the week after that, and basically the week after that. But I realized through a lot of contemplation that I'm pretty sure for this week we're meant to do a mental game. And that's why I have no tangible, yes, like it wasn't a thing. So when we get to it, Mitzvah Hashem, we're going to do the game, and we'll continue. How's everyone doing?
Great.
Yay. Did everyone enjoy the classes so far?
It was too short.
It was too short. I don't know if you're being sarcastic or serious. I love him talking.
It was kind of hard for me to follow, I'm not going to lie. I don't want him to only one.
Okay.
Not hard to follow, like just like zoning out, you know, like
got
not
it.
That he's like not easy to listen to. It's just, you know, like if the tracks didn't stop in between and I wouldn't have to go click another one, I would probably lose more attention. No, I'm saying that part woke me back up because I'm like, oh yeah, I'm listening to something.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe. By the way, there's more chairs in the. Sorry. There's more chairs in the closet. Yeah. Maybe. Did you take your workbook home?
Yeah.
You did? Okay.
Yeah.
Because for me, when I start spacing out, I like having the workbook in front of me, and then I have an idea of where I'm headed. If you want the world to see you.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Welcome. Okay. So, as we explained in the first class, what we are, Mitzvah Hashem gonna do is that we're gonna take his classes and we're gonna actually really discuss them and like chew them thoroughly so that we have it not just we know this nice shear that someone taught, but we actually have them inside of us, and we're able to, by the end of this course, you'll be able to, for the most part, say, okay, this chapter should talk about this, this chapter talks about that, and it makes sense, this chapter goes before that chapter, right? Remember we listened to him explaining that? Okay, so the way that it'll work, as we've already started, so I'm sure everybody in the room knows, is that we will, everybody does their homework and listens to the shirim at home, and then together we'll go through all the questions and answer them in our books, and through that we'll really knead out anything that isn't soft yet, if that makes sense, using a challah example, right? If anything's still not making sense or you don't know how to apply it to your life, so this is the chance, this is how we're gonna make it practical. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay, awesome. So, exactly, we're gonna bring about it. That is exactly it. And then at the end, we have, so your books have 1 page is white. So even if you have extra notes that you want to take, you have space for it on that page. And at the end of Shir today, I'm going to give some time for everybody to try by heart and see if you can remember what chapter was for what. And if you need help, so then you can go back and look at your notebook, and you also have your map, just in case you need some help. But that way you start getting it so that you have the grasp of each chapter. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay, awesome. So, last week, probably would come in handy. Okay, so last week we got up to question 5. We kind of answered question, no, yeah, I think it was 5. We didn't answer question 5, right? Okay. So does anybody, I should have brought the other mic. Okay, whatever. I'll repeat everyone's answers. Okay, so question 5 is still part of Rabbi Sheistaub's introduction. And the question is, if you don't find the personal and relevant answer to your life's question by just reading the Tanya, then according to the Alter Rebbe's design, what should you do? Who remembers? Yes?
Learn with a mentor.
Learn with a mentor, exactly. So, and I love how he said, he goes, if this shir helps you in that sense, so then great. And if not, then go to someone who can actually sit down and discuss it with you, which is part of what we're doing here. We're not just taking the book and like going on our own. We're going to try and work together and bring it out. Okay. Title page of Tanya, being perfect is close onto you. Perfection is attainable if we define perfection properly. Question number 6. What is the new definition of perfection? Who remembers? Anybody? You do? What's the definition of perfection? Yeah. The Beinani. So how do we define the Beinani? Does he do perfect, or is he perfect, or does he do perfect? He does perfect, exactly. So now let's put it this way. If I were to tell you that for the next, not even minute, for the next 10 seconds, try your hardest not to have any negative thoughts, not to speak any negative words, and not to do any negative actions, right? Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay? For those 10 seconds, and I'm sure even longer, because we're all going to sit in the shir discussing Kedusha things, we were Beinanim. Okay? That's perfect. Perfect isn't about being perfect. No one is perfect. Hashem created the world that nothing is perfect. But we can do perfect. We can think perfectly, we can act perfectly, and we can speak perfectly for as long as we can manage. Does that make sense? Yeah? So again, being a Beinani is not so unattainable. We have everybody in class. I feel like we're missing. Oh, there we go. I was wondering where you were. Welcome. There's a seat over here and I don't bite. And you won't be on camera, so I definitely don't bite.
The definition is doing perfect?
Correct. The definition
is perfect, right?
Exactly. And even within that, he can somehow reach greater levels of perfection. Like there's like a lower tzaddik, so to speak, and a higher tzaddik. So which we'll get into later in the classes. But yeah. Oh, there is. Does this have a name? If it does not have a name, then it's yours. No. Good. Yay. Okay, number 7. What is the route to attain this perfection? Okay, now explain. Can you explain that?
That it might be long, because like you were saying, we read the whole story from the kid. And someone came to the city and said, how do you get to this place? He said, well, you live a short, long way. So you live a long, short way. He lived fast and short way. But then he had to turn around because halfway through it was closed. He came back and said, hey, it was a long way. But the long way, so it might have taken longer, but he ended up reaching his goal.
Exactly. Okay, so just to, yes, exactly. So the answer is, so the route to attain this perfection is a long, short way, right? So now we'll see that the entire Sefer Shel Beinani, the entire book of Likutei Amarim Tanya, is basically the long, short way, which means that we go through each step. He doesn't just say, okay, do perfect, close the book. He goes literally through every single step, and it's going to take us 6 weeks to go through each one. And so how much more so if you go and you learn it in depth, it could take you months, it could take you years, right? So that's the long way. But in the end, you'll actually reach that level of perfection. You could. As we did last week, we got a recipe for cheesecake. And as long as we followed the recipe for cheesecake, what did we get? Come on, everyone had it last week. We all got cheesecake, right? So we have a recipe for a beinani. And as long as we follow it, we can all get a beinani. Exactly. So the way that we can do it, again, it's not unattainable because we redefine perfect. Perfect means doing perfect. Perfect doesn't mean being perfect. I'm not perfect, but I can try and do perfect, right? As we all achieved for those 10 seconds, right? Okay. So what is the route to attain this perfection? Through the long, short way, which means it's going to take us some time to go through it and learn all the techniques. But once we do that investment of time, we'll know it. That make sense? Awesome. Okay. So now we're about to enter, welcome everybody, our first Yechidus with the Alter Rebbe. So the first Yechidus with the Alter Rebbe, according to Rabbi Shei's tab at least, are chapters 1 through 8. And so we'll begin with chapter number 1, which he titled Pregnant with Twins, the Animal Soul. Yeah, I love it. Isn't it? I listened, I was like, yeah. Yeah, because I was listening yesterday, and it was yesterday's Chumash. I was like, perfect. Yeah. So perfect. Okay, so what is the first thing in every recipe? The ingredients. Beautiful. Number 9. What is a person's struggle when she walks into the first Yechidus with the Alter Rebbe? I'm sorry? Confusion. What? Not understanding what's going on within ourselves. Anybody else? Lack of direction. I'm assuming. Yeah. Of direction in life, or trying to figure out their direction in life. Okay, awesome. You guys can all answer that. Yeah. And for most of us, the way that we live with this is that we have opposing thoughts and feelings.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought there was like a struggle within that you think something could be wrong with you, or it was
right.
Battle.
So it's opposing, yes, exactly. So for example, even it happens to me very often that it's time for me to daven or it's time for me to learn or something, and it's like, I should really wash the dishes, or I should really, and like washing the dishes is a great thing. Like it definitely helps de-stress and declutter my home. But I'm realizing I'm having polar opposite thoughts. Right now is the time for something, but I'm wanting to do something else. Am I insane? Am I nuts? I mean, don't answer that. Separate discussion for a different time. But my point is, we aren't, as a whole, we are not insane and nuts. We are actually just pregnant with twins. We have 2 separate voices speaking in our heads, pulling us towards different desires. Does that make sense? Okay. Exactly. Once Rivka knew that she was pregnant with twins, she calmed down, which is really okay. Number 10. What does the Alter Rebbe tell us as an answer? Exactly. You are not crazy. You have 2 souls. You are pregnant with twins. Exactly. For everyone who didn't see this video that was been going around about the Viglers in Manhattan. Yes, triplets in Manhattan. It's a beautiful video. If you haven't, I will send it on the group. Absolutely stunning video. And it was really funny because every time she would go to the doctor, the doctor would be like, "Oh, you have a baby. Oh, mom." The next week she would go and be like, "Oh, there's 2 hearts. Oh, we're having twins." So she would come home and tell her husband, "Oh, we're having twins. Oh, so excited." And then the next week she went back and the doctor's like, "There's 3. And she came home, she told her husband, she goes, "I think we're having triplets." He's like, "You're not going back to that doctor next week." Okay, Nahara, it's a beautiful video and everyone should watch it, and I cried. It was beautiful. Okay. So pregnant with twins. Okay, so now that we know this, question 11. Which is the first soul? Which is the first soul that we all get? The animal soul. And now we understand our children.
I don't know about your kids.
But I know how all kids are kids, including my kids. Okay, what does the first soul represent? And I use the wording that he used in the shir. I know it sounds a little tricky, but if you did it while listening. Yes, survival instincts, basic survival impulses. Okay, so when trying to figure out what we could do, I'll let you guys write first. I'm trying to remember what was the workshop-y activity we were meant to do in this class. My good friend Sarah over the phone, I hope she's listening live. So she had this great idea of pass the baby around. Because Baruch Hashem, we have a beautiful baby in our room. And we could all take a nice look at this incredible baby and how beautiful she is and how cute she is and how hard her mommy makes sure that she's quiet throughout the entire share. But the reality is that at that stage in their lives, they're not actually doing anything wrong. For me, it's very hard when I hear people saying, oh, I have such a hard baby. Your baby is just trying to survive. And she or he is just asking for help. So imagine if someone tied...
she's a good baby.
Exactly. Imagine if someone tied your hands behind your back and... Right? You have no idea what I'm trying to say. So too with babies. They have no concept of giving hand motions. They can't say, although we spend many hours trying to teach them, hand, whatever it's called, hand signals, hand signing. But they also can't speak. So what are they trying to do? They're just trying to survive. This week, we've been having a lot of struggles with our heating in our apartment. Kenai and Nahara. And at one point last night, I woke up freezing. And I realized that if I'm freezing, how much more so our kids are freezing. And I saw them in the together. And I was like, oh man. So they're like, we even put 2 blankets and whatever. In the end, I put in an extra heater in their room. 5 minutes later, the heating turned on, just FYI. And then they were boiling, but whatever. So the point is that they also, at that age and stage, as much as my kids speak, but they also didn't have that conscious, I'm waking up because I'm cold. So one of my kids just woke up crying and he was unconsolable. I'm like, I'm sorry, I know why you're crying, but you yourself don't really get it. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So we have to be very understanding, and we have to realize that the Nefesh Habehamis isn't bad. There's a difference. There's a Yetzer Hara that's bad, which we're going to discuss at some point later. But a Nefesh Habehamis is just a survival instinct. It's your body trying to say, for me to live, I need to be cared for. For me to live, I need to wash my dishes so I don't go crazy, that my kitchen's a disaster. For me to live, I need to eat. I need to sleep. I need to take care of myself. Does that make sense? It's not bad. It's just trying to survive. And it doesn't quite have the vocabulary, just like a baby, to let you know all the time. That said, just like a baby, they might go overboard. Your Nefesh Habehamis may not realize that they need to stop eating. Has anyone felt such a thing? No one in the room, right? No one in the room gets that. So if your Nefesh Habehamis is going to drop overboard, you can also do the same thing as a baby, and you can gently and lovingly raise her, right? We raise our children. It's the most Jewish word for chinuch, Jewish English word for chinuch. We're raising our children. We're educating them to have higher standards, have higher desires. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. So how do you
We're actually going to get there in chapter 6. So we're about to discuss chinuch. For all of our chinuch lovers of
are we going to
talk
more about explain more the fact that the Nefesh Habehamis needs her not to sing? Because I always
yes, I can definitely discuss it. I will try and bring it in at the end. If we don't naturally go through the flow of it, I'll definitely bring it in. And I can even I didn't bring it this week, but I went through a whole discussion about this, and my husband and I went through sefer after sefer after sefer, because this mimer said this and that mimer said that and da da da. And Baruch Hashem, we got clarity in the back of the Tehillim. If you have the English translation, or if you know how to learn in whatever language, Hebrew. Yeah, it's in. So in the back of the Tehillim, there's a beautiful letter where the Frierdiker Rebbe explains that there is actually a difference. And one is trying to get you. One is created by the Eibishter to give you free choice. Again, it's bad, but it's still the Eibishter's creation to allow you to have free choice.
And it seems like it's out to get us.
Correct. It seems like it's out to get us. The other one is just our basic survival instincts. Like, I am hungry and I'm getting grumpy about it and it ain't pretty. You know what I mean? I'm sure you know. Been there all the time. Okay. But yeah, we're going to discuss it. If it doesn't come in naturally here, I'll bring it at the end of the session. Okay, number 13. What's the animal soul's problem? Selfishness. It sees everything as life or death. I either eat this right now or... Does that make sense? Ask a favor on whoever finishes writing. Have some water, please. With a big cup. I'm probably... Yeah, but I don't want to drink a big bottle. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. You guys are the best. Thank you so much.
It's kind of like it's like urgent in the wrong way.
Correct.
Like when you have urgency, like you need to get something done or whatever, that's fine. But this like always feels like
I must have this.
Yeah.
Cookie. Right? We all must have that cookie. Right? There is urgency, but just in the wrong department, in the wrong time for the wrong thing. It's a lack of maturity and appreciating what's more important in life and what's less important in life. Does that make sense?
In life or in life?
Well, in life, at that point in life, at that point in your stage in life. Does that make sense?
Food is like the typical example, but
There's so much
I know
more.
there used to be like other ones that were
No, there's
really
so
new to
much
me.
more.
I don't know.
So for me,
Like suddenly, like, oh my gosh, like I really need this like random thing for my house. Like, how did I even live until this moment without
this,
I know.
yes, that
Or
thing I
this
just
toy
saw
for my
on.
kid, or this piece of clothing, or there's
Yes,
so many
I
things.
absolutely need this
It's-
right now, and like how? Yeah,
And like I'm
exactly.
gonna buy it now, and like
You just go on this
Thanks, Amazon.
impulse.
2 days
Time,
shipping
like,
is
you-
not enough.
2 days.
Even
Exactly.
for someone to respond to you, and that's like you need them to
Mhm.
immediately, or
Mhm.
you're not going to be able to get them. But a lot of times these things are not so animal soul related. I don't know, like if you need something to respond, maybe something related to the
so that's different. But like this feeling of like I need to buy this right now, or I need to eat this right now. But like
A sense of
Things that are-
urgency,
the
Right,
sense of
like-
urgency, definitely.
No, I
That
think-
sense of
because your
urgency
Nefesh
is
Elokis,
selfish.
exactly, Nefesh Elokis, unless there's an urgency like, oh, Mincha's coming. But like even still, I know my Yitzhar at least. It's like, Mincha's coming. Oh, but I just need to shake the thing a little more. I just need to check one more message. Oh, I just need to, right? Boom, there's my clear answer. Mincha's coming. I feel that urgency, but I find something else. You get what I mean? So that could be, it could be at that point, an Nefesh Habehamis or a Yitzhar. Right? So which we'll discuss in the 20s, in the 26s, 7s. But does that give clarity? Also, something really good to have in mind for life in general. If you have a moment of a situation and you're about to make a decision and you're not quite sure where this is coming from, take a moment and say, where is this going to lead me to in the end? So this is where it gets tricky, and a lot of people bring in this like Chassidus Yetzirah situation. If, let's say, I want to take on this insane achlata that I've tried a million times and it's just like way too hard for me, but I really want to do it. Like, I don't know, whatever that means in your particular, think of an achlata that like you've been wanting to do, but like you keep struggling about it. And at this point in time, unless you've changed your mindset, which we're going to discuss later, but unless you changed your mindset about that achlata or made a desperate change in your schedule to fit it in, if you keep taking out achlata and it's bringing you negativity, you're just getting down about yourself. Oh, I didn't finish chitas. Oh, I didn't do blah, blah, blah. I didn't actually finish davening mincha or shachars or, right? But if it's bringing you to an end result of depression, of feeling down, of feeling despondent, that is not coming from a good place. So anytime you have a decision to make, take a moment and say, how am I going to feel? Or what's what is this going to lead me to in the end? That usually gives you an idea of where it's coming from. Does that make sense?
One other trick I remember is the thought that came first. Meaning, if the first thought you had was to do a good thing, and then the thought followed it was telling you not to do that good thing, like something else to do instead. Like let's say, like I wanted to say to him right now. Meaning, if your first thought was to do like a practical mitzvah, and then the second thought comes and tries to take you away from that, like how do you know which? And sometimes it could be concealed itself in a good way.
Right.
How do you know, like by listening to like what was the first thought that you had?
Right. So just to repeat that for anyone who wasn't able to hear, that no, it's good. That another trick that someone has heard is about figuring out or remembering what was the first thing that came up. Because the first thing that came up generally tells you what was the good desire that you were hoping to accomplish, and then what followed was, even though it might seem holy and spiritual, it might be the one that's trying to lead you astray. Yeah, so that actually comes from a beautiful story from
Yes, it comes from like this.
the
One of their Rebbeim. Someone came for tzedakah first. He was like,
I just don't remember which one. I'm pretty sure it's the Mitzvah Rebbe, though. I'm trying to remember which book I read it in. You know the Orange series? They're so good. I'm pretty sure it's the Mitzvah Rebbe. Anyway, that someone came and gave the Mitzvah Rebbe, gave the Rebbe a substantial sum of money as a donation. And the person that came into Yechidus right after needed that exact number of money. And when the person walked out, the Rebbe had to figure out if he's going to give him the full, and then his second thought was, or if I split it, I give him a little bit, and then I give other people, and I'm able to give other people, so then they're able to also have. And after that, Yechidus, the Rebbe stopped Yechidus, and he said, 1 second, I need to figure this out. And when his secretary came in to ask him, is everything okay? It's should I bring the next person, or what's the conclusion? So that's when this particular Rebbe, I'm thinking it was Rebbe, said that he realized that the first thought was actually the pure thought, and it was the exact amount of money that this person needed, so therefore it needed to be shared. But once the second thought came, even though it sounded holy and beautiful, it wasn't coming from a good place. Yes, exactly.
That's literally how I learned it.
Yes.
I think that's a repeated sense of that. Sometimes it's there's just this sixth sense. It's what do I feel? When I what's the deep feeling? I don't think a feeling. I'll be a gut feeling. It's I'm gonna make a decision, and it's and then all of a sudden it's okay, I feel it. And sometimes there's always those thoughts coming, and then it's that, just that feeling.
To stick with that feeling.
Yeah,
beautiful.
You have that. Everyone has a sixth sense, but
you have to be sensitive to sensitive to it.
No, one thing.
Yeah.
One thing I learned about this also is when she's saying that just sit silent with yourself. Take away your phone, your headphones. It's hard to find anywhere quiet. Even a coffee shop isn't quiet, but but the answer is always inside of you. You can ask 5 people the advice.
Yes.
You can sit with yourself.
Yes. Answer is always inside of you.
Yeah. Because you're I have to think exactly what I should say, and if you answer right away, it can be the wrong answer.
Right.
Sometimes when you discuss it with someone else, what you're going through and what you should do about it, then the answer comes to you.
Because you need it. Exactly. I was going to say, you need someone to be able to listen and not just answer you.
I called someone to ask about a certain thing, and while I was talking to her, I said, hey, I should just do.
That's amazing. Yeah, so what somebody was saying is about getting clarity by talking it out with someone who's able to listen, not just answer at you. Okay, chapter 2. So now in chapter 1, we introduced the animal soul. In chapter 2, we introduced the godly soul. What is the second soul? The godly soul. Why is it called second? There you go. He came in second. When? Beautiful question. What does that mean that it came in first or it came in second? So.
Well, we get by the basket, so that's
correct. Okay.
The baby that you're talking about.
So the way that it works is when a baby is born, it says like the neshama that was breathed into that baby. So that first breath the baby takes, the neshama gets breathed into this baby, and that's the animal soul. Then at the level, there's the Nefesh Elokis is like hovering. It's there, but it's not fully enveloped. Like it's not fully a part of their cognizant existence, if that makes sense. And then once bar or bas mitzvah comes, it becomes fully enveloped, and it actually becomes an active voice. Yeah, it's really cool. Okay.
How do you explain the kids? How do you explain them? They understand it and they familiarize with it, but
They don't even
we're not
know.
talking about that. We're talking about that.
Yes, they just like Havdil. But just like you can train a puppy to do good things, Havdil. You can train children amazing things, and that's why. No, for real. That's why they have even greater potential, because they do have that Nefesh Elokis. It's just not a fully cognizant part of their existence.
Just training for the reward, the attention.
Well, whether it's reward or attention, but I think it's really training for being a part of their lives. Like it's really a part of their existence.
I guess it's more like, I mean, what I understand is what you're saying about an animal. So no, I'm saying like it sounds also like I think maybe you know sense that we give kids, little rewards like they work. Like not like a minhag, like we give kids like.
Well, you make the olive base sweet and the honey and okay, yeah.
Well, that's more in hugging. I think it actually either that we give children things to train
Sweeten the experience.
So
Beautiful.
like it's
Instead of
really more external, like you can.
I was saying, instead of an animal, could just be like, you could be training for a marathon, but you're the first day you're running the marathon. No, you're running like half a mile,
Yes.
maybe a mile, then
You're
it takes you
slowly
6 months.
working.
I don't know, I've never ran a marathon. Don't ask me. But like, it could take you.
Working
You don't
towards.
just start all of a sudden being like the athlete,
Right, exactly. So we're making it a part of their existence, and we're making it the most enjoyable. And I get this question a lot from like our mommies that live in Chassidus has been around for almost 7 years now. And Baruch Hashem, a lot of our alumni, we'll call them, have babies that are now becoming toddlers and older, etc. So I get this question a lot, like, how do I make Judaism enjoyable for them? Or like, what's my purpose? Like, if my kid isn't saying the bracha correctly, like, am I supposed to like correct them? How am I supposed to bring this Judaism and incorporate it into their lives? And the thing I live with the most is that it needs to be an enjoyable, beautiful experience for them. Because if Judaism becomes a burden from our perspective, like, I have to or I have to. There's a famous, amazing book. Where is it? It's on the shelf because it's one of my favorites. Oh, here it is. Positivity Bias.
Yeah.
I absolutely, first of all, I still have copies and I sell it for cheap. I absolutely suggest every single person, this is like eat, breathe, sleep, and read this book. Like, this is survival. One of the most beautiful stories in here is about a father, very, very easy read while we're on this. It's literally like little teeny tiny sections, and I read 1 or 2 a day. It's like my little breakfast, dinner, dessert, if that makes any sense. They're beautiful, and it's so well for brains out, if that makes sense. It's very, very, I love all of his books. I'm a huge fan of him. He's going to come speak for us soon. Mendel Collinson, he's from England. Anyway, so one of the most beautiful stories that he has in here is about a father who was struggling because his son was going off the derech, or whatever we want to call it in the most PC way. And so the father came and said something along the lines of some Yiddish, I don't know it, but there's apparently this Yiddish saying that people say like, oy vey, it's so hard to be a Jew. Yes. Okay. So the Rebbe said to him, 1 second, we have to change that in you. We have to change that saying, because what are you passing on to your children? It's so hard to be a Yid. Why would you want to do something that's hard? We're creatures of pleasure. We're not here to like, you know, bang ourselves with like painful things. Like that's not what we do for a general fun time, you know? We don't. But the reality is if we see Judaism in a beautiful way, we're able to pass that on to the godly soul. If our godly soul teaches and is able to teach the animal soul that Judaism is beautiful and it's enjoyable and it really brings fulfillment and closeness with God and all of these good things, that's what a child or the animal soul will continue to go for. Which, by the way, parenting techniques of this style is what I actually use for my own personal growth. I try and treat myself like a child who sometimes wants a tantrum and wants that particular thing right here, right now. And you know what? Okay, I hear you, but Judaism is so beautiful. Does that make sense?
You're supposed to.
Yes, that's how it works. Okay, continuing on. When does our godly, okay, we did that already. Number 17, who runs the show until then? The Nefesh Habehamis, the animal soul. Number 18, what is the godly soul and where does it come from? I'm sorry? Chachmaila, beautiful. Look at you. How do we define, okay, we don't have to get too technical, but 18. Yes, correct. Nefesh Habehamis, animal soul. Number 18, what is the godly soul and where does it come from? Chachmaila, which means, you can write this in, the highest level in the highest realm, which in Hebrew is called Chelek Elokah. It's a literal piece of the Eibusher. Okay, well, the literal part, the Alter Rebbe adds. Mimal Mamish. Well, Mimal Mamish is an addition that the Alter Rebbe adds. But according to Chelek Elokah, correct. Number 19. If every neshama is from Atzilus and is a Chelek Elokah, then what is the difference between us and a tzaddik? Is that a great mashal?
What was the story? Oh, you didn't take a plane.
Take an airplane.
And you stop off and like, how long was your journey? Like, it depends on how long like,
yes.
How many stops you had, how exactly.
Yeah. So I'm gonna be very honest, and I just flew a few months ago. I just flew to Australia. So hearing this, when I first did this course 2 years ago or whatever, was very different than hearing it after traveling to Australia with 3 kids. That was a total of 30 hours from the moment I left my home till the moment I reached my in-laws' home. Okay, 30 hours of travel with kids. So the more stops, the more schlepping, the more picking up car seats and suitcases and kid this and kid that and cups and whatever. It really drains you. It really drains you. And we still wonder, I do.
Ever do it again?
No, that I for sure will. It was so amazing. If anyone wants to go to Australia, ask me about it. It's the best. But I'm going to keep saying over the next time I travel. But anyway, so the answer really is the wear and tear of its journey down to this world from the same source. Just like someone could fly from here to Australia and take, there is no direct flight, but yeah, the wear and tear, like how exhausted. Let's just put it this way. A friend of mine recently flew from Australia here to visit us, and she booked a ticket to Hong Kong. Okay, so let's just put it, here's Australia and here's New York. Okay, if you fly New York, LA, Melbourne, that's one approach. The other approach is you fly Melbourne, Hong Kong, sometimes they even have another stop somewhere else, and then New York. Okay, so she just found these amazing cheap tickets and didn't quite think about, she's like, oh, end result is New York. Well, she's sitting on her flight to Hong Kong, and you know how in the front of international flights, they have like how long your flight is and like where in the air your airplane is and all that stuff. And she's like, wait a minute, that's 10 hours more than I expected. She didn't think twice, but through Hong Kong, it's about 10 hours more than through LA. So she was already on the plane, strapped in and going, so she couldn't do anything about it. But bottom line is, that would take a lot more wear and tear, and she came exhausted. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So this neshama is coming down, each neshama is coming down from the exact same source. Now the question is, how much wear and tear is it going to go through as it makes its trip down to us? Does that make sense? That is a very good question. So I have an answer for the Nefesh Hasichlis, which we're going to get to, but I don't quite have an answer off the top of my head for the Nefesh Elokis. So how about this? Let's answer the Nefesh Hasichlis. We'll explain what that is to begin with. And then, Mitzvah Hashem, next class, I'm going to do some homework. Let me write it down for myself. And I'm going to research it. Sounds good? Of its journey down to this world from the same source.
So it's not that only certain shamas could become
The switch between a Beinani or a Rasha to a Beinani to a Tzaddik is a very tricky discussion. A Rasha to a Beinani is instant. There's also two different types of Beinani. There's a Beinani by existence, like created as a Beinani, and there's a Beinani that works to be a Beinani. Correct. That's exactly it. But we can't. Becoming a tzaddik it's pasha a gift from Hashem. Yeah. So that doesn't. I mean.
So if you want, that's not quite the same.
No, but each person around this table has different.
Yeah, exactly. We all have different struggles, which means that our neshama went through, netzach, and that netzach, we're like, oh, I think I'm gonna have this neshama is gonna need a little extra netzach, and so it's gonna stay there and like huddle and like, or maybe it's gonna go very quickly through it, and that's why I didn't get enough of it, or.
Yeah, they're asking about it. Oh,
Excited and not excited, it's more than just what I'm saying, because if somebody has a lot of one head, it's still becomes
Correct. Correct. Yes, that's exactly it. Which means, well, the next question we're going to get to is how does a tzaddik see the world? Is because a tzaddik he has a express train.
Yeah.
Yes, he doesn't have any stops. He does not go through wear and tear. That this particular neshama is not meant to go through wear and tear. Correct. Yeah.
So how does he see the world?
Good one. Oh, I thought you were asking me like, next question. Yeah. How does he see the world? Through the eyes of Atzilus. Because he still has those pair of eyes. Which correct. He didn't go through all the worlds, through all the
Or he went through but no stops.
Correct. He had to go through but no stops.
Express drop, like the same day delivery, not the 2 days.
Yes. Which, by the way, for anyone who can see, painful one.
We just
Our logo is slightly representative of this aspect. Our logo has glasses, for anyone who can see, and it says Hashem Echad. Because our job through learning Chassidus is to constantly put on our Hashem glasses. It should be, and that's why there's a beautiful sikha actually coming up, Yitzis Kislev, that's what they call it, about how a person goes down and he's like minor, not a minor like young, a minor like mining. And if he doesn't have a constant access to air, then chas v'shalom, right? So too with us. You can't say that this particular worker is going to say, oh, I'm just going to breathe Monday and Tuesday, but Wednesday, Thursday, I'll hold my breath. Like that doesn't quite work, right? So too with learning Chassidus. It's like breathing. We have to have a constant dose. And through that constant dose, it'll help us see the world through the eyes of Hashem. Does that make sense? And Hashem is one. Exactly. And not only that, but it's going down as a concept of Dir B'Tachteinim. Because it's Hashem one, but we have to do it here. We can't just stay up and float with Hashem over yonder. Does that make sense? That's the logo. Okay, so moving on. What is the Nefesh Hasichlis and what does it do? Okay, the intellect.
It's like always.
Okay.
Philosophizes.
Philosophizes, yes.
Answers.
Seeks answers. Beautiful. Okay, how often do you use your Nefesh Hasichlis? Let's just give you a hint. You're doing it right now.
That's who you are.
Exactly. That is who you are. Your Nefesh Hasichlis is you, thinking right here, right now. That
I
is
always thought
you.
your neshama was you. I
Ah.
always thought your neshama like your neshama. Like, is that what your neshama is? That's the stuff like that's not so holy.
Nefesh Hasichlis is the you that decides what's holy and what's not holy. What I should do now, what I shouldn't do now. What I should think, what I should breathe, what I should. Okay, breathe.
Is it a time? Like, is it the same as the neshama?
Nefesh Hasichlis
What
is
is the neshama considered?
correct. The neshama is one of the aspects that comes into this choice. It's like the Nefesh Hasichlis is the you that gets to decide, is this something I should do or is this something I shouldn't do?
The mind and the heart.
Yeah.
It's like the negotiator between
Correct. And that is you all the time. That's the person, that's the it that wakes up and drinks coffee if you drink coffee and, thinks and analyzes and figures out and contemplates and all that stuff. That's Nefesh Hasichlis.
But what is I don't understand what it's not.
Yeah,
Holy, it's not intrinsically holy. So what does it come from? Is it a part of Hashem? Is it?
Well, everything's a part of Hashem.
I know, but
it's not the Chelek HaKamim Al-Mamish.
How could it be that you? But it's not holy. Why do we always say you're your neshama? So what does that mean? What's the neshama mean?
The neshama is the piece that keeps you alive. It's the breathing. There's different levels and how it relates to your actions and emotions and thoughts, and then to the point that like Chai Nichida is like stuff beyond what you're capable of understanding. That's why we like daven Yom Kippur, and that's like Yom Kippur. We do like Chai Nichida stuff.
I just understand how, if we're not really intrinsically holy, then how can we? It's not really a.
It's not that you're not intrinsically holy. You are intrinsically holy, but this particular judge decides what action that holy being you are gets to do.
So, but it's equal parts. It's 50-50 over here, then that's not really fair if I make a wrong decision because I have 50% chance. Like, if I'm not really holy, then I have a big chance to make a non-holy decision, and this time Nefesh Habehamis.
That's free will. That's Mazel Tov.
No,
that is the world.
It's not like
that's not fair.
I always thought that we were like we are truly connected to Hashem. Like we're truly holding.
Well, it is. You are truly a part of Hashem.
It's like not.
You are truly a part of Hashem, and the part of Hashem that you are has to have the balance. Because if you're not, if you're just the Nefesh Habehamis by itself, then there's no difference between you and Havdil, an animal. Not you, whatever, a human and an animal. But if you're Nefesh Habehamis and the Nefesh Elokis, or if you're Nefesh Elokis and a Nefesh Habehamis, then you are those beings. If you're just a Nefesh Elokis, you aren't sleeping, you aren't eating, you aren't breathing. Not you, but whoever's just a Nefesh Elokis is basically not in this world.
It's like your neshama always wants to be closer to Hashem, but you're saying, oh, but I should do the dishes instead of davening.
Like, according to everything that we studied, I really think like her that the Nefesh Hasichlis makes sense that it's like the flame on the candle. It's like negotiating. Should I go up? Should I go down? I should stay up a little bit, stay down a little bit so that I'm balanced. So like it makes sense that the neshama, like the Nefesh Hasichlis, that's the one that has an Nefesh Habehamis and Nefesh Elokis. The neshama, no? That isn't that. I also think it's the same thing. Like I understand what you're trying to say.
Okay, so then how about this? I'm gonna.
So
there's a whole structure of what Nefesh Ruach Neshama Chai Yechida. Sorry, Nefesh Ruach Neshama Chai Yechida. Right, and each one represents a different level of you. I'm not both time and current preparation at the point where I can like go into it deeply. But Mitzvah Hashem, I'll write it in my to-do list and we'll discuss next week. That sound good?
levels, not necessarily what they're all part of it.
The Nefesh Hasichlis is one of them. It's a Nefesh. Yeah, well, okay. We're gonna, 1 second. We'll discuss.
How is that, if it's part of them, then
This is
how
like
is
a
that
really
the
important
main
thing to
thing?
talk about, 'cause, like, I feel like a lot of us like kind of get this whole thing.
What I'm thinking
But it's a
about-
level of something that, a level of what? You, who you are, is a level of something.
You have to go.
Okay, then you have to be something else. If you have the level, then you can't be a level.
Well, you are the combination of all of these things. If you had a Nefesh Elokis but no Nefesh Habehamis, there would be no life. That's what happens at death. Death is not a loss of a Nefesh Elokis. Death is a loss of a Nefesh Habehamis that stops breathing and the heart stops pumping and blah 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 blah. And so therefore the same Nefesh Elokis goes right back up to Shemaim, right? So okay. How about this? For this point, the part of the discussion that we need to know at this point is the fact that when you think, you analyze, analyze and think, because I can't think of another word, that part that decides which is which, that's the Nefesh Hasichlis. Okay? That's what you need to know for this part of the discussion. Okay. No, nothing to be sorry about. It was a great question, and with Hashem, I'll try to get more clarity on it for everybody. Okay. Okay, 22. How do the parents' intentions during the time of conception influence us? That was very cool. Straight from the source. I was going with something a little more general, but yes, that's exactly what it says. So it determines the level of the Nefesh Hasichlis that we get.
It determines.
Close. So that's what he said. He said that at this point he uses the word lavush, but it's not the word lavush in the sense of what we're going to discuss in general in Tanya. But
It does say the same.
it's not the same as the same lavushim that we discussed.
What does that mean,
Okay.
level?
It determines the level of Nefesh Hasichlis that we get. All the child, which then grows up to be us.
What does that mean, level?
Correct.
Meaning how easy or hard it will be for that child to make the right decision.
According to
Yes.
spiritual points of view.
So yes, and I have to
So
repeat
just
what all of
blame
you said.
everything on your parents.
It's
That's the point.
Chas
obviously.
v'shalom. We have
Wouldn't
free
even
choice.
know them.
Okay,
Wouldn't
so
even
the
know if
point-
it's gonna happen.
The point is, the answer is, or the explanation on the answer is that it is the capable. How did you say it? Beautiful.
Ability to make that decision.
Your ability to make decisions between your Nefesh Elokis and your Nefesh Habehamis. Yes, that is the explanation on it.
Right, because like,
Yeah, like
you already predisposed.
Say it again.
It kind of goes against like the idea of free will. Like if your capacity for like choosing right or wrong is limited by
Well, there's obviously different, like,
Well, the same way as we all went through different wear and tear. So, for example, it says that Rabbi Akiva had a very hard time learning, and that's the whole concept of like the one drop in this. Remember, he saw that one drop kept falling on the same stone, and that one drop like ended up making a hole. And like you could say, so to speak, I don't know, but like it's possible that Rabbi Akiva was not given that Nefesh Hasichlis that was like, super quick, but that's how he understood. Oh, I could just learn one thing at a time. It could really make a big difference. So it doesn't necessarily mean like, oh, that's it, finished. Like I just have a doom for life, But it's a different type of struggle. Like, for example, memorization is not my strong point. But if I understand the concept, boom, I got it. So whatever, I was just endowed with different type of Nefesh Hasichlis than other people. I know someone who memorizes every single thing. I think your husband's also very good at memorizing. I know my husband always tells me that. Anyway, okay. Chapter 3. The anatomy of the soul, who you are. What are the 10 faculties / powers / eser kaiches, which is one of his pet peeves. Because people say spheres, but it's not spheres. I'm sorry? I didn't hear the first word. Provide? Oh, derived from. I thought you said provide. Yes, derived from and mirror the 10 spheres that connect God to his creations, that connect Hashem to his creations. Those same 10 faculties are the 10 faculties that make up the soul. Cool. So those 10 faculties, and again, they're called kaiches because there are kaiches. They're not the spheres that Hashem has, or is, or creates, or whatever technical word you can use for Hashem. I'm sorry? Oh. Derive and mirror are derived from and mirror the 10 spheres that connect Hashem to his creations. And these are the faculties that make up the soul. Okay, now name the 10 kaiches. Everyone that's everyone that's done their sphera. Chachma, Bina, Das, Netzach. Oh, Chesed, Gevura, Tiferes, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, and Malchus. Yes. Now name the first. Which are the intellectual faculties? Chachma, Bin, and Das, which we're going to understand beautifully. And which are the emotional faculties? Beautiful. Okay, now what is the relationship between the intellect and the emotions? Ah, I love it. I love it. I love it. Yes, parent-child relationship. The intellect gives birth to the emotions. Which goes into a beautiful discussion about chinuch. If you have kids, just ignore my conversation. I'm kidding. I mean, if you have kids already, don't take anything I say personally at all. Okay? Good. There's been times where, when I was young, I used to babysit a lot. And sometimes I would go to someone's house and you could see that the mom's kind of chasing the kid around. There's like either it's choices that the child wants and the mom's like, or the parent, whichever gender it is. So that child had desires and that child needed them fulfilled. And so that child decided how it gets done and what schedule it gets done and what time frame and what, how high pitch is he gonna or she's gonna scream in order to achieve such a thing, right? So that's one approach. And not necessarily it's an active approach, but it's one reality that may happen. That's okay. And another, which I'll call approach, but not necessarily whatever, that I saw a lot when I was a kid babysitting, was that the parents helped guide the children's growth, or help guide the children's decisions, or help guide the children's possible outcomes for the night, or for the day, or for the whatever. So in this video I was talking about the Viglers in Manhattan, about, triplets in Manhattan, I think it's called the video. So it's funny, one of the things she talks about is how the more kids she had, because having triplets just like expands your horizon of children very quickly. So the more organized she had to get. And one of the things that was so beautiful, you could see that they did a whole frame, like video frame, on her setting up all the kids' clothes, and then each kid coming to like take their clothes because that's what they're gonna wear. And she had to get very minute to minute, this is what's happening, and this is it doesn't always work minute to minute, but like the general idea, the general gist. And so one approach is that the child rules the house, and they need their desires. As we said, children are not inherently negative or bad. They just have desires that they have. And that's what they want. And a parent doesn't always know how, or can figure out how to change that progression, right? Child first, parent second. Or another approach is a parent who has a way, which again, it takes skill and it takes learning, it takes whatever, but it has a way of helping create the child's desire. So some people say, and this is one approach, like when you go to the store and you're going to buy shoes or something, okay, don't go and take the kid to the full store and say, okay, what shoes do you want? Because then you're going to probably come home with some weird looking things. But you say, okay, there's this pair and there's this pair, and which one would you like out of this pair? So again, I'm not condoning or condemning any type of parenting approach. I am just saying that if we take a look at how this applies in our lives or in our classrooms, I know some people in here are teachers, how this applies in our lives, then we're able to see it also within ourselves. Am I the type of person who see an ad for this thing that now I can't, how could I possibly live my life without this gadget, right? Who's ruling the home? The child or the parent? You see that? See how it also plays out inside me? I see the dry roasted no salted almonds we have over here. I'm like, oh, so good. Or I used to work upstairs in Zebedee. I used to walk past gumbos every single day. This is before my like no sugar thing. Oh, that smell. Early in the morning when they're baking and it's fresh. Oh, it's so hard. But that's when I saw, 1 second, who's ruling this home? The child or the parent, right? So if you take a moment and say, this desire that I just got, or this, is it coming from here or is it coming from here? And then you can figure out who's in charge, right? Who's speaking right now? Does that make sense? Yes?
During this day, I went to I don't know what it was. It was like after this and go to some Sunday. So what am I gonna think of when I go to some Sunday? So on my way there, so it's like it depends. If I see a beautiful Mercedes pass by, then I'm gonna think about that. If I see some people fighting, then I'll think about that. Now, who's in charge over here? Like the child or the parent? Like if I want to be in charge, I have to think in a sense. Well, I mean, I know it's not really connected, but like, am I in charge or am I just seeing what I want and on that, like I can control my thoughts. Like I don't have to think about, if I think in a sense, like what I'm going to think of when I walk in the street. I know this is like already higher level. No, I like that.
Yeah.
No, but like, they don't really
Okay, good to know.
Before I go, I'm going now, what I'm going to think of, what's my purpose.
Right.
So like then outside things can come to you and then you end up listening to what you were saying. Your child as opposed to
the parent, exactly. Okay. Yes. Okay. Chapter 4. We're not going to be able to finish all of them, I don't think, but let's see if we can what we can accomplish. Okay, chapter 4. The anatomy of the soul. What do you wear? What are the ways in which the soul expresses itself? Name them. Beautiful. Through the 3 garments: thought, speech, and action. Machshava, divra, ma'aseh. What is the difference between thinking of and thinking about? Which, by the way, it's on this block. No, it's on this. It's on this street. I know exactly where it is. It's right next to Chavei Torah. Oh, thank you.
Think of parking my drive.
Don't you think of parking my drive?
Don't you think of parking my drive?
Yeah, the sign says don't think of.
Yeah, that's it.
It's right next to Chavei Torah, so it's between Albany and Troy. Yes, yes, go check it out. It's really funny.
It's the example that we gave when you're thinking about doing something, but you're not actually doing it. It's the desire to do it, but you're not going to really do it.
Exactly. So thinking of means a thought comes in, I have no choice and I have no control. And it's very interesting. My husband was just at one of the classes at the Kinnis, and the guy was talking about how like Buddhism and all these different things that they meditate, they're trying to stop thoughts. Judaism tells you very clearly, you can't stop the thought. What you can do is direct it, redirect it, keep it there, focus it more, take it off of focus something else, right? You can guide it, but you can't stop thought. So thinking of is just the fact that our mind goes. We think of things. I'm thinking of, what did he do? A purple elephant. I'm thinking of a purple elephant. Now, do I choose to think about it and how big it is? Would it fit in this room? Is it purple polka dots or is it fully purple? Like, you get what I mean? It's a decision to then delve into that. That's thinking about. So thinking about is entertaining the thought that comes in. And with this, I do have control and I do have a choice. Now, what is the lesson behind Rav Zeva of Zhitamar's story? Yes, that you have the choice, that not just because someone is knocking does not mean you have to answer. I live on Kingston. I definitely know that rule.
You have a choice.
I have a choice and I use it. Not everyone knocking on my door needs me to answer. Which means that just because you think of something does not mean you need to think about it. For me, this was huge. It was a life-changing concept. Because when I was little, I was very scared of scary movies. Very scared. I was always like scared of the dark and something spooky is going to come from under my bed. And I realized as I grew older that I don't have to think of that. I don't have to think about that, I mean. I don't have to focus on that. And change my mindset.
Also in all your relationships, work, friendships, or anywhere, family, you can have someone trying to get something bother you, they need something from you, and if you're not able to give in that moment, you should use your judgment, but you don't have to answer them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if someone's trying to take your attention and stress you out, and you don't have to give it to them. That's true. It's good. It's very good.
I think about everything. We can make up some of the stories in our brain.
Yes.
Like about something.
We make such assumptions.
All this our brain just thinking of that.
And you don't have to.
Yeah, you don't have to go there.
100%. You do not have to go there and make assumptions. Okay, 31. What was the lesson of the times tables exercise?
You can think about something.
There was something more. Yes.
Right.
Exactly. That you can have that knowledge, but it does not mean it's affecting you at this very point in time. Yes. It doesn't have to, yeah. I mean, we've all graduated some sort of schooling to a certain extent. That does not mean we're reviewing every single class we ever took ever. Exactly. We also don't have to carry it.
Even if it's there, it doesn't mean I have to actually actively
Right.
processing it in your mind.
Correct. So a negative past, but doesn't mean we have to actively realize what's necessary. Yes. And at that point, we have control. Yes, we have control over what we think about, right? So this comes in handy because later on we're actually going to discuss meditation, like this, which means just as he explained in his example, just because you know about godliness, just because you're learning this shir now does not mean that tomorrow morning when that struggle comes in, you're going to jump straight to this. Does that make sense? So you have to make it an active process to think about the different things that we learn, or think about Hashem, or think about that last sikha that you learned, or the shir that you listened to. Does that make sense? Okay, awesome. So we got to chapter 5. We only have a few more till we do CD number 2. So what we're gonna do is, if you didn't get to finish, which I'm not even gonna say it. If you feel like you need to re-listen and just refreshen on these last few sections, so then please feel free. For next week, please listen to CD number 2, and then we'll continue on from there. So if you're able to listen to the entire CD, we're not going to cover through everything, but that way you listen to it twice, and then you get that repetition. Does that make sense? Okay. Pleasure. Any questions? Any comments? Everyone good? Breathing and still awake? Actually, you all look pretty awake for 9:15. Come on. Yes. Yes, it does. Yes, it's already online. Yes, I can send you the link. Actually, just look up. Oh, yes, it is. Thank you. There we go. Track list. There it is.
They're so. I forgot how to download that. That was like I was just like.
Oh.
I didn't go back to
You can't just download on the top the little 3 button things. Really?
I have an iPhone.
Oh.
Press on it. Wait till, but it can't open. It opened with something else, so I opened then I press on the app, then I download it, then it starts.
Okay, so if anybody wants, I do have these available. Yes, okay, great. And then you can actually download them onto your computer and just transfer them yourself. That's easier. Okay. Awesome. Yay. Thank you, everybody. Yet another awesome week. Oh, we didn't get to do the review. Sorry. If you want, I can take a moment. No. I mean, try and see if you can remember. Parak. Okay, we'll do it here. First parak is animal soul and pregnant with twins. Pregnant with twins and introduction to animal soul. Parak phase. Second chapter. Nefesh Elokis. Third chapter. Well, Nefesh Hasichlis was the end of the second. That was very close. What was it? What it's made up of. Who you are. What are you made up of? Right? That's when we did the 10 koiches. Right? We did the 3 intellectual faculties and the 7 emotional faculties. Chapter 4. What you wear. Correct. What you wear. Which are the 3 garments? There we go. Now we're getting it. Thought, speech, and action. And number 5, we didn't finish. No. What you eat. Okay. Awesome. Yay. Thank you. Pleasure. Oh, selfie. Yes. Everybody smile. I'll stop this before.